Joyride, 1957, a novel of intrigue by J.P. Wasmiller, Chapter 115. James went to the Disappointment Cafe for lunch and was again not disappointed. The prime rib sandwich was to die for, and the fries were as crispy as could be. He then fired up the big Ford and headed a few miles south to Cape Disappointment. It was at this spot that on November 15, 1805, Lewis and Clark first saw the Pacific Ocean on their 2,000-mile journey through the western United States. James spent the afternoon tramping all over the Cape in the pea soup. London fog had nothing over this fog, he surmised, having spent time in both. He knew the Indians had been here forever, but he wondered if the French fur traders had known about this spot far earlier than 1792. He wondered if in fact this might be the point that the 1363 expedition may have discovered the Pacific and in fact the Northwest Passage. If in fact they got onto the Columbia River, they would most likely have ended up exactly here. He searched the entire beach area looking for ruins or anything out of the ordinary, but on this day it came up empty. His best guess was that the party of explorers ended up viewing the Pacific from here, just like Lewis and Clark did. But of course there was James Line X running from Rhode Island through Kelowna and Penrose Island. Then there was the other line, the 18-degree line that bounced off the Canadian border and ran southwest into Seattle and then the middle of the Washington coast. What kept bothering him about all this was the fact that Lewis and Clark, for the most part, were treated very cordially by the Indians all across the Northwest. It seemed to James that this would be extremely unlikely unless there had been prior contact, and not just that of the fur traders, but contact over a long period of time. It was as if these Indians knew white men long before Lewis and Clark came through the Northwest United States in 1804 and 1805. In the interim, James had done some more measuring and determined that a line 30 degrees off the U.S.-Canadian border, angling southeast from the point where the United States and Canadian borders met at the British Columbia-Alberta border, the point he now was calling ABC Point, led through not only Texarkana but also Key West, Florida. Bouncing this line, that is the 30 degrees from ABC Point to the southwest off the Canadian border, created a line that ran southwest right through the Columbia River mouth and was very near to Portland, Oregon. It was all confusing, but James had it down and was going to stick with his calculations no matter how implausible they seemed. Lines from the southeast to the ABC point at angles of first 18 and then 30 degrees, and then from the point ABC to the southwest at 18 and 30 degrees passed through a lot of possibly important places. James knew both his love of maps and the continued surveillance of him and his travels was what was keeping him on track, whatever that track was. He was sensing he might have turned some imaginary corner and was now closing in on the treasure. He deemed that his followers and admirers were also sensing the same thing. His attempts on his life continued to mount. He was also sensing some innate fear that maybe the Almighty was not on his side, or was he? He had survived every attack, yet they kept coming. His fog was now getting heavier than ever as he walked back to the now muddy country squire. He got in, started her up, and turned on the fog lights. He could barely see the road, even with the lights on, but was able to make his way back to town. He parked in front of his room at the Owako Inn and turned the key to open the door to his room. As he entered, he was taken aback. His room was a total shambles. His clothes were strewn everywhere. His bed was stripped and all the dresser drawers were open. Fortunately, he had carried his maps with him in a satchel. He sat down on the bare mattress and stared at the mess. He was too tired to clean up, so he took his satchel and walked to the Disappointment Cafe. He was very angry, but also famished. He ordered the surf and turf and ate it all rather rapidly. Then noticed a priest sipping coffee in a corner booth. Their eyes met, then James got up and went to the jukebox, put in a quarter and pushed L6. Soon the familiar voice of the king, Elvis Presley, roared to life. The sounds of Jailhouse Rock filled the restaurant, and the priest decided this was his cue to leave, which he did. James ordered another Coca-Cola, and soon the Everly Brothers were singing "Wake Up, Little Susie." He asked for a dessert menu and ordered a layered cranberry dessert and a huge dish of vanilla ice cream. He had seen cranberry bogs near Ilwaco, and the dessert was out of this world. James had wanted to take the ferry across the river south to Astoria, Oregon, on the south side of the Columbia River, but the fog was so thick it was not running. He headed back to his chaotic room and soon fell away into dreamland with some nondescript woman.